Okay, here we are. Sutton Place in 57th Street, Inner City Press. It's Saturday, April 27th. Inner City Press has written, yes, 3 stories about the UN today. And look, a UN car. This is the $15 million mansion where Antonio Guterres, the most corrupt Secretary General ever, often leaves empty and alone. Look, a blue UN car. What could it be for? What could it be for? How much money is being wasted? Oh, look, they're going to leave it running around the corner. Has Big Tony come home? Is Big Tony rolling in? Look, it's a limousine with blue plates. Let's zero in. Let's zero in. This house has been empty all week here on Sutton Place as Antonio Guterres has gone to China to sing for his supper, to praise the very forces that paid him money through the Gulbenkian Foundation and who he refused to audit in the UN, to say nothing of his silence on human rights abuses, of course, in Xinjiang and elsewhere, in China, Hong Kong. Oh, they're going to hide the car around the corner. But there's Big Tony. Big Tony's supposed to be home today. His spokesman, Stephane Dujarric, who doesn't answer any written questions, whether about Cameroon, Yemen, nothing. There are no answers. Now, he's going to go around the corner. There's actually a back entrance. Big Tony has a big back door, and he's going in through it. Yes, there's a lot of entry. Well, I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is this is Big Tony's mansion. You pay for it. You pay for it, and he leaves it empty. He's corrupt. He has the press thrown out for asking him simple questions about how much he spends on his travel, why he did nothing about the killings in Cameroon. No answers, no answers. And today we wrote a funny story, after a story about Cameroon, of course, which is not funny since many people have been slaughtered with his collusion and connivance. But we wrote a story about he's threatened his otherwise sycophant press corps that they have to waddle in 2 to 3 times a week, prove that they're going in. They have to do it. Can they do it? I met recently a Saudi-funded journalist who brags that she never goes in, even though she has a full office, given by the very person who signed the threat letter, supposedly. Now, not a bad person, but you know what? To send denials to press that actually works, no explanation, you know, if you can't do better than that, maybe you shouldn't work for the devil. I don't know. What would these people do if, on behalf of Myanmar, they were ordered to torture journalists, or of China? They would do it. So they're no better. The UN is in no place. Now, what's happened with that blue car around the corner? Why was it parked in front of Big Tony's big mansion? Will mysteries never cease? Antonio Guterres is corrupt and should be in prison. To be continued. Okay, we're still here. We would have actually taken off, except this is Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, a $15 million mansion that he leaves empty. He lives in it alone with servants. Totally disgusting. As he pontificates about world poverty and censors the press, this is Big Tony's house. Now, the irony is he's been away in China singing for his supper in the Belt and Road. But as we came by today, there was a car. Now it's parked over there. They conveniently pulled it out of sight. See the blue license plate? Why is its lights on? Why is it idling? Is Big Tony going to make the getaway? Now, Omar al-Bashir's house was found with a lot of cash inside it. Is that the issue here? What I can tell you is that since we've been here, which hasn't been long, and you can check the timestamps on the periscopes, the 3rd floor lights were once again all ablaze. Big Tony blazing it inside. How could he be back? If he was sucking up to China on Saturday in Beijing, impossible. Time travel? Body double? I don't know. But you have to ask yourself, how much money is being wasted on this individual, the worst Secretary General ever, who thumbed his nose as Anglophones in Cameroon were being slaughtered? He flew to Yaoundé and took a golden statue. Then he cut a deal, since Cameroon was the chair of the Budget Committee, to stay silent. Now, Jan Egeland, former head of OCHA, and Helen Clark, former head of UNDP, who ran for Secretary General, have both noted the world's silence on Cameroon. But what they didn't note is that Antonio Guterres is the one most responsible, the most collusive, the most... He should get... If there's an opposite of a Nobel Peace Prize, if there's a prize that's given to a disgusting world leader who says one thing and does another, that prize should be named the Antonio Guterres Prize for collusion in genocide and hypocrisy. Yes, it's true. Now, this commentary might seem harsh, and I'll tell you, around day 100 of being banned from the UN by Antonio Guterres because he has such a thin skin, I was still describing things in a slightly different way. But I have to say, on day 297, I have concluded that Antonio Guterres is totally corrupt. Even if one cared to save the UN, and many do. I'm sent documents by them all the time trying to clean up the UN. If you wanted to save the UN, the first thing you must do is to impeach Antonio Guterres, because he has driven it. He has used it for his own profit. He has aligned it with some of the worst killers, and he just doesn't care. He can't even live up to the most basic standards that the UN sets. He had a journalist beaten up and banned for 297 days. He had his guards try to get me thrown out of the Park East Synagogue when with other journalists I went to cover the speeches there after the killings in Pittsburgh. He tried to have New York City Police Department restrain me on the sidewalk. No excuse given, because people assume that the UN wouldn't abuse its power. Of course not. Unless, of course, you lived in Haiti. Maybe if you lived in the DRC. What I can tell you is that the UN has always had problems, always had the problems of impunity and immunity. But Antonio Guterres has taken them to a new and disgusting level, where the UN, PBS did a documentary about UN sex scandal. And you know what? Unlike Ban Ki-moon, unlike Kofi Annan, Guterres didn't even go on camera. He just took the money and ran. He doesn't care about the UN. He cares only about himself. And so those who have buttressed him, from Deputy Amina Mohammed to spokes communications genius Alison Smale, now threatening the very press corps that she assembled of sycophants and no-shows, Spokesman Stephane Dujarric, they're all responsible. I could go down a longer list, and I think I probably will. But for now, the vigil. Where is Big Tony and his Chinese bag of loot? To be continued. Okay, here we are. Well, if you've seen the last two Periscopes, you'll know what this is about. As soon as we left, and it was to turn it, well, why let them know anything? As soon as Inner City Press left, we stumbled on it. We came rolling by. Tony is supposed to be in China taking money from his Paymasters, but there was this mysterious luxury car in front of Tony's mansion. So we couldn't figure it out, and we did a quick Periscope, and then we did another one of the car. It pulled discreetly around the corner. And as soon as we left, the car came back out, and a blue UN security guard went back in and forth the building. What a waste. Now, if there was nothing wrong going on, why did they hide the car? Why? What's going on? Is Tony in town? Does Tony have a body double? Does Tony have, some kind of companion? Given free range of the residents? We've asked in the past. We've asked specific questions about the spending of public money by this corrupt public official. And there are no answers. Only violence. Only violence and corruption. So you figure it out. You figure it out while Big Tony is away for day 4 of his Chinese sleaze fest. What is this? What in God's name? You ask, what in God's name is this car doing here? Nobody knows. Totally corrupt. Inner City Press has concluded, has discovered the secret financial links of Antonio Guterres to the China Energy Fund Committee through the Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon, Portugal. Yes, it's true. And to conceal these links, he had a journalist beaten up. He's corrupt. The very things that the UN pontificates from Geneva about, Big Tony does, right here. Now, what is this mysterious limousine? How much money is spent? Let's count the windows. 5 windows across, 4 stories tall, 1 corrupt individual living alone inside it. Yes, it's true. Oh, let's pull the car back. The car has had its motor running throughout. It's on the move again. The car is on the move. Can you go around the corner? Please. Around the corner, discreetly. There is a law in New York about polluting the atmosphere. It's creeping back around. It's got to go. This car has got to go. If there was nothing wrong, why would this be taking place? Why would this cat and mouse game of a disgusting luxury vehicle for a disgusting collusion, genocide supporting, corrupt, bribe-taking individual? Are they going to take off down 57th Street? I hope so. Maybe. Nope, they're going back around the corner. I guess every time a camera shows up, they've got to move Big Tony's wheels. This is disgusting, okay? I ask you, taxpayers of the world, revolt, because this man is revolting. Absolutely revolting. Shocking, really. Really, really. Let's go. We're gonna pursue this car. Keep running the engine. Jokers. You know what UN security did? They physically broke my laptop, twisted my arm, and with no repercussions. They didn't even answer a letter about it. Nope. They said, you're on a banned list. Now, you might think there was something occurred. There was some misunderstanding, but there was none. I was covering the budget committee where Antonio Guterres had reached a secret, sleazy deal to remain silent on the killing of Anglophones in exchange for the support of the then chairman of the budget committee, the Cameroonian ambassador Thomas Monte, in order to create this weird power grab of the resident coordinator system and to move jobs to China, to Shenzhen, China. And it wasn't, the latter of which wasn't even approved. And the first of which wasn't even funded. A failure. Pure and simple. Pure and simple. Look at it. You check it out. There is that's the UN in a nutshell. Hiding. Corrupt. Absolutely corrupt. Now we could go over and conduct an interview. Well within our rights. Maybe they jump out and try to break the laptop again. Break the bicycle? Want to break a city bike? Who's the head of UN security? Peter Drennan. Worst security official ever. Ever. All right, we'll get back on the wheels. Somehow the city bike couldn't stay up. But unlike Antonio Guterres, it's not so thin-skinned that it can beat up its critics. Now we're still waiting, and they're still waiting. How long has that car had its lights on? How long? How long, you ask? I ask. Totally corrupt. Totally corrupt. Now, we're seeing. Are they going to be hours? Will it be hours? Days? They said Tony's coming back on Saturday. I guess that he has to have a limousine idling its motor for hours. Mr. Climate Change. Yes, Mr. Climate Change. Shocking. And so we remain. Oh, we have... Wait a second. Wait a second. These were some guests. I think we've captured the thing. These guys were guests. That's the problem. That's the problem they had. They had secret visitors to when the cat's away, Big Tony's little friends will play in the limousine. Oh yes. Now you've seen it. This was the reason. They didn't want anyone to see who was playing in the masses' house. Look, let's check it out. Let's go widescreen. There it is. There they go. Big Tony's. Wait, does Big Tony's son, Pedro, now live in the city? Does he make his business calls to steal African resources from Big Tony's house? Well, that's a mystery. Who was in Big Tony's house? And why were they so freaked out that they had to move the car? Why? Well, this is a mystery we intend to get to the bottom of. Is Pedro Guterres doing his African predatory business from inside Big Tony's mansion? Tune in next time to the Antonio Guterres Corruption Show until he is in prison. To be continued.